Next time on a very spooky fine dining podcast, the season 1 finale, TGI Fridays the 13th. Oh, you betcha, pineapple's gonna hit the fan as Michael's son Juicy, or in this episode, Juice's son Voorhees, goes on a murderous rampage, and no one is safe. It gets real spooky, it gets real bloody, and not everyone's gonna make it to the end of the episode. Who will live, who will die? Listen to Fine Dining, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America, break down a trip to TGI Fridays based on the atmosphere, the service, and the food, and try not to be scared to death. Hear the thrilling finale of Fine Dining, Wednesday, October 25th, wherever you get your podcasts.
What do you think about Boris Johnson's ethical advisor quitting, Scottish independence, rail strikes, and refugees? You're wrong. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello and welcome back to Non-Censored, our weekly highlights of my very popular and very real radio show. I am, of course, Harriet Langley-Swindon, and I'm joined by my producer, Martin.
Here as ever.
And what a week it was, Martin?
Oh, yes, one for the books, certainly. No shortage of news this week.
And what do you think your personal highlight was?
Well, if I had to pick one, it would probably be the Thai green curry that I made on Wednesday night with
No, Martin, I mean in the show.
Of course.
Highlight in the show.
In that case, a close second would be when we had the wonderful Jonathan Van Ness from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy in to give some thoughts and advice as to how to improve Keir Starmer's standing, make him a little bolder, a little edgier, and a little more sexy.
Yes, we are mandated to say, yes, in Pride Month, we're all very pro-Pride here at Non-Censored, and that's all that needs to be said.
I thought it was very fun.
But we also, Martin, had a very, very moving caller, really touched a lot of hearts. It's a shame we couldn't include it in the highlights, but oh, God, do you remember, Martin? She'd been brutally cancelled. She felt she wasn't able to say what she felt. It was really, there wasn't, I think, a dry eye in the studio and at home. I think people were very, very moved.
Yes, there
upset.
are a lot of comments, especially when they discovered which group she represented. Then suddenly we realised that it was a slightly different sort of. Well, it gave a new context to the interview, didn't it?
Still very sad and still very moving, I'd say. I don't think we should discriminate someone just because of what they've done.
No, of course,
you know?
Of course.
That's the problem with cancel culture,
Don't judge people by their
yes.
actions or their words. That's
Exactly. And that is the rule in this show. But to start with, let's talk about the bombshell of Lord Geit's resignation letter. This was really extraordinary, wasn't it, Martin?
Absolutely.
Yes, and while the media were scrambling around asking, is this the end for Boris Johnson? How can anyone work for him if they know that their advice will be ignored? Who would possibly work for Boris Johnson? Well, we found someone, didn't we, Martin? We found someone who was tipped to be the new ethics advisor. He is very well respected in the establishment. He's been around for ages, and to give you an idea of the kind of man he is, he used to be Prince Andrew's nanny. I am, of course, speaking of Sir Stephen Stevens. So, Stephen, let's get to the topic in hand. Obviously, this is a big topic this week. Now, what do you make of it? What's he playing at?
I don't know. I've known Chris a long time. Chris is a lovely man, but he, Guide by name, guide by nature. That's, he's always been something of a stickler for the rules, and I don't think there's any room in Parliament for people who are going to be so tied to traditions and rules and processes. The people want what the people want, and they have to have it, including in ethics. Every 5 years we have a general election, and that decides what the ethics are.
Yes, completely. The thing is, he did say that Boris Johnson had put him in an impossible and odious position.
Yes, he has put a number of people in quite impossible positions. Many of the people who born him children, I understand, did so in quite uncomfortable circumstances.
And do you think, I mean, do you think Lord Guyte had a point? Do you think he had a good reason?
No, I think Chris is being a bit of a stick in the mud here. I mean, obviously one can't have an opinion one way or the other. It wouldn't be proper. It wouldn't be seemly to express an opinion. And that's why I think Chris had to go, because there were some examples of quite outrageously unethical behaviour on the part of Chris Guyte.
Really? Will please do share? Do share.
Is it ethical, I ask you, to leave the government without an ethics advisor? Is that ethical? Is that good for the ethics?
No.
No, it's not. Who was unethical in this situation? Lord Christopher Guyte.
Very true. Very true. Now, Sir Stephen, are you worried? Because obviously we've heard on the down low that you might be the new ethics advisor. The government, they're being very secretive about it. They're saying that they might not do any ethics advisor, which seems, I mean, I can understand it because the government doesn't really need anyone advising on ethics because it's very ethical and principled and all about doing the right thing.
I must say, I think not having an advisor would be a mistake, especially partly because it would leave them open to accusations of corruption, and secondly, because it would mean that I wouldn't necessarily have a job.
Very important point. And you're a really principled man, so I think you'd really help. Talking about corruption, you're very, there's nothing corrupt about you at all, is there?
No. I've always been committed to my principles, mainly the principle that I should have a job.
Yes, very, very important principle. And I think that's what everyone should operate on, really. And I think that's the
essence
problem,
of public service.
It's the essence of public service. And I think that's the problem, is it? Lord Guyte has slightly lost track of that. He sort of started to think that an ethics advisor is about ethics.
I mean, that's a big mistake. He's taken it too literally.
He's taken it too literally.
He's not a postman, who has to deal with post, or a milkman who has to deal with milk. He's an ethics advisor, which means absolutely nothing.
It's like anything. It's like, Suella Braverman being the Attorney General. I mean, she doesn't do that, does she?
No, she knows nothing about the law. There are frogs in my pond that know more about the law than Suella Braverman.
Bless her.
So, Sir Stephen, if you don't mind me jumping in, we do have a few questions.
I mean, I do, but I'll let you do it.
You're very good to put up with me. We do have a few questions from our listeners as to what your calls would be on some of the ethical conundrums that have come up over the past few months. So first of all, there was, of course, the Downing Street flats, the wallpaper fiasco. Being paid for by a bit of dodgy money coming through. How would you have advised on that?
Well, I mean, isn't all money that goes to pay for wallpaper somewhat dodgy? Is anyone who buys wallpaper, does anyone who buys wallpaper think that their hands are clean of blood? I think wallpaper, we don't know where it comes from. There's possibly sort of deep wallpaper mines. We don't know how this stuff is produced. So, I mean, you can sit there on your high horse, but who can honestly say, whatever's covering their wall, that is an ethical thing? So my judgment in that one, ethical.
Right. Okay. So there's I think that answers that. Next up, we've got dogs. Dogs. With of course the withdrawal from the Middle East. There was of course quite a fiasco in getting humans, translators, out of the war zone. However, it was the dogs that got priority thanks to government intervention. How would you advise on that?
I would say, look, we have lots of people in this country, and the people are, on the whole, quite disappointing, whereas dogs are endlessly delightful. I mean, you said, I think that was quite a loaded way you asked that. You said dogs as opposed to translators, but have we tried teaching the dogs to translate from dog language?
So true. So true.
So ethical, once again, incredibly ethical.
We do just have one more question from our listeners regarding, of course, the Prime Minister's fixed fine for breaking the law. During the old Partygate scandal.
This is a tricky one. Yeah, this is a tricky one because obviously the police have found evidence of law breaking, but I think taking all the evidence into account, quite a lot of evidence. I mean, photos galore of these things happening, of flagrant law breaking throughout the period of the lockdown. I'd have to say, ethical, because they owned up to it in the end. They paid the fines. It's not like it was kept a secret from us. We all know that they were having parties all the time. Ethically.
And our next guest who we heard from, she's Scottish, but don't let that put you off. She's one of the good ones, isn't she,
She certainly
Martin?
is. I'm not sure what you mean by that last comment, but yes.
I am, of course, talking about anti-Scottish independence campaigner Fiona Forbes-Sinclair. What is going on here? I thought we'd done and dusted with this.
Well, so did I. I think we all thought that, but unfortunately, Nicola has what I would call a pathological need for Scotland to have its own government. And I mean, it's dangerous what she's suggesting, but she'll go ahead. She's very much. Have you seen the film Braveheart?
Of course, I've seen Braveheart. Who hasn't? I mean, that's where I know all my Scottish history from.
Well, and same, but in that film, she's Edward II. She's the English in that film. She's
Right.
throwing a man out of a window and tearing Mel Gibson to pieces. And Mel Gibson is the UK. And what Nicola's doing is destroying Mel Gibson, the UK.
So sorry, Fiona, just to clarify. So in Braveheart, the English are the Scottish Nicola Sturgeon. And
the SNP are the English, yes.
Yes, and the Scottish in the film are the people like yourself and the Brits.
Yes, the Brits.
Yes.
I mean, I am British,
Yes,
and
of course.
we're all, and the problem with Scottish nationalists is that they're obsessed. They're obsessed with nationality, and I'm not. I'm just British, and I just bleed red, white, and blue, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's and blue on its own, horrible. Who wants to see that?
Well, exactly. What I can't think of anything good that's blue.
Is the Cookie Monster?
Thank you, producer Martin. There is the Cookie Monster. Talking of Braveheart, I mean, I think it's a very, very good way of looking at things, because the thing with Scottish independence is, Fiona, is it all sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds nice, but it quickly goes off the rails. I mean, similarly with Braveheart, he did one good movie and then it was Passion of the Christ, anti-Semitism, and Daddy's Home too,
Absolutely off the scale, atrocious, downhill all the way. I mean, yes, you look at Scotland, you look at Mel Gibson, you think that's a very attractive body of political ideas there.
Yes.
That's a great thing. But then, you look at a wee bit closer, raging nationalism and anti-Semitism and Chicken Run 2, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a terrible, it's going to be awful.
Are you worried, Fiona?
I am worried. I'm worried because we said no, didn't we? We said no in 2014. Yeah. Nothing has changed on the political spectrum since then. It's been very much the same. The same for the last 8 years, the same. Nothing, I can't think of anything that's changed.
Yes, no, I'm trying but can't.
And yet Nicola says, let's have another go. Well, Nicola, we said no once. We'll be saying no again. You can give me the chance to say no as many times as you like, and I'll keep saying it. No. It's a bit like in that The Vicar of Tapley. It's another amazing piece of British work.
No, it's so true. It's like marriage. You say once, you stick with it. You don't change your mind. Sometimes I'd like to change my mind with my husband Jonathan, but I don't.
Oh, yes. No, I remember you saying before, actually.
Yes, he's quite dreadful. Yeah.
I do feel that I do just need to chip in just for the old dreaded balance. Just to say that the decision is, of course, with the Scottish people, and there are a lot of pros to Scotland. I've got a little list of a few here that I thought I'd just to read out. Okay, and then I'll just sort of let them land and see how they go. So. Windy days, rocks, hills, a hearty chuckle through chipped yellow teeth, meat products, the Edinburgh tattoo shops, bagpipes, spelling whiskey without an E, plaid skirts for men and women, shaggy brown cows that look like the main guy from Jamiroquai, iron brew,
is there more? Oh, there's more. All right. Yeah.
oats, the Loch Ness Monster, Tunnock's tea cakes,
Okay.
Lorraine Kelly.
Well, Martin, those were beautiful, and
Thank you.
I think actually, I mean, I'm not persuaded, but I think Nicola Sturgeon, if she had someone like you on her team, maybe she'd be making more headway.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I have to say, I did meet Lorraine Kelly once at a do, and I would say she was rude, but she wasn't overly friendly. So
She's not, is she? I mean, you can just tell she's just a nasty, unfriendly woman.
sometimes I think the friendlier someone looks, the more horrible they are.
Yes, or the friendlier someone acts, not just looks, but acts. You can't trust that. You can't
when
trust
they come
that.
across as very open and chatty, actually you think, what's your agenda?
Yeah.
You know, what's your agenda, Lorraine?
Very
I
suspect.
don't like it. Nothing against her, though. She's absolutely great.
No, you're just saying what you see. Once again, Martin booked in for us Eshaan Akbar in the studio,
Yes.
talking about his hot and spicy takeaway of the week.
Yes, you did. You do keep on. You like to have him in the studio, and I love to have him there too. He's such a character. He says the funniest things.
He really is. Eshaan, please tell us, what is your hot and spicy takeaway of the week?
Well, I mean, I will tell you, but we're still absolutely bonded to this idea of calling this hot and spicy takeaway of the week.
Why wouldn't we?
It just
What
seems
else
a bit,
would we call it?
I don't know, something like Eshaan Akbar's take of the week.
Or
No,
the
it doesn't.
spicy hot take, because it's a
Spicy hot take, or
I don't
what's the
know
little?
I don't know the chicken shop.
What's the onion bhaji take of the week?
Okay, I see where this is going. Anyway, the hot and spicy takeaway of the week this week for me is that the rail strikes that are happening up and down the country are, of course, a major inconvenience. But,
Yes.
dear listener, there may well be a solution from yours truly for us to get on top of this. I've actually got two solutions, believe it or not.
2 solutions. Well, I can't wait to hear them.
Number one, nationalize Uber. And solution number 2, have more rickshaws on our streets.
Very, very interesting, Eshaan. The thing is, nationalising in general, I'm sorry, it doesn't have any legs.
Well, in that case, the rickshaw idea definitely has legs because you need legs to use them, don't you? So,
that's true.
frankly, on the legs.
I was on a rickshaw just the other day, and we were singing "Uptown Girl," and there was the
Oh, that's one thing I would do is ban the people who sing. The music is fine, but you can't sing whilst you're on the rickshaw. That makes it very irritating.
It was just a jolly. It was a sort of jolly sing song.
No, I know, but that's the bit of this is the problem we're going to encounter: is people are going to get on the rickshaw like you, Martin, and start singing. We can't have singing; it's public noise pollution. However, the songs that they play, absolutely fine. And I think what we can do, we have an employment crisis at the moment. Get them to ride the rickshaws all up and down the country, and I reckon you could go, London to Manchester on a rickshaw. What, 6 hours if you're putting a good shift in?
So, I mean, do you think that the rickshaw drivers might get a little tired?
Well, then we can make sure that they tag team, kind of, high five on the M6 at Richard Charnock Services.
I've got to say,
Do we need to nationalise it, though? Could this just be a fun little private business? Just a sort of, low wage, fun for all the family. These rickshaw drivers, they have a sort of private boss who says, all right, yes, I'll pay you this week, maybe not next, depending on how well you do. Wouldn't that be something we could do?
I think, considering a lot of the rail workers are complaining that they don't get paid enough, I'm pretty sure rickshaw workers would be very happy with the salaries that train drivers get. So we could just transfer
That is very true.
the salaries over to the rickshaw drivers, who would be delighted with, £75,000 a year they get to push a button and pull a lever back and forth. At least these people are doing exercise, and think about it, they'll be fitter, and because they're fitter, they won't be as much of a strain on the NHS. They won't have to spend as much on the NHS, and these people will live longer. I mean, overall, economically, it benefits us to have rickshaws all over the country instead of trains.
It does make a lot of sense, absolutely.
I've got to say, we rarely agree, Eshaan, but I really am pro this rickshaw idea. It sounds like it's good for the environment. It's good for the health.
Let's not get the environment into this. Why are we complicating it?
It's just because it's a sort of bicycle of sorts, isn't it?
Also, I'm sorry, producer Martin, is the environment even real? Come on.
It's a larger question, isn't
Martin,
it?
look, ultimately, the environmental argument doesn't hold up because a lot of the countries where rickshaws are commonly used, they're at the absolute peak of this quote-unquote climate change issue. They're all riding rickshaws, and those countries are supposed to be drowning soon. So it doesn't really work that well, does it? I mean, it's just this liberal mindset about bringing the environment into everything constantly.
But also, Eshaan, you talked about Ubers.
I did.
Now, the problem with Ubers is they never pick me up. I can't get them to pick me up. I call an Uber, they start coming, they stop. They don't like me. I had one night in an Uber with my friend Marion, and Marion was crying and upset about her husband. It was very tedious. So I threw up on her.
And did you?
And I had to do that. I was teaching her a lesson, and the Uber driver didn't understand. He got very irate. And since then, I can't get an Uber. They never pick me up.
When you threw up on Marion, did any of the
spillage,
did any of it make its way onto the car seat? Because there are cleaning costs associated with it. I know a lot about this because my dad used to be a cab driver before Uber was.
I pride myself on being a very straight shooter. I
Very
did get
centrist,
some...
very kind of in the centre,
yes,
down the middle.
Yeah, thank you. Down the middle, knows where it's going, knows what it wants. It got Marion. It did get a little bit of the Uber driver's hair, but that's not the cab, is it?
Martin, have you ever been in an Uber with a friend? Do you have?
I have. I've got friends. I've been in an Uber. My Uber rating has actually been very good until recently. I did have to book Harriet a couple of Ubers, and it seems to drop in line with the Ubers that I booked for Harriet.
Do you not worry about the environment when you use an Uber, Martin?
Oh, yes. I am in a constant state of worry. I'm never truly happy. It's something that is always on my back, like a dark dragon, sort of terrorizing my mind and soul.
I lost interest.
That happens when he talks about the environment. Also this week, we spoke to Dom Joly, not part of his TV show, Trigger Happy TV, but he did get a little triggered, didn't he, Martin?
Oh, yes, he did indeed, a little bit triggered. And don't worry, I made sure that his phone was off before the recording started. I said that to him, and he absolutely loved it, although it's not in the recording, so it won't be in it.
We talked to him earlier in the week before, it must be said, we heard the sad news that the government failed to people smuggle war victims to Rwanda as they were ambushed by Law and Justice. We talked to Dom about his work with Save the Children. He does love children. And we also touched upon that question of why doesn't he just stick to comedy? Our guest today is what I like to call a jobbing jobber. He's been a comedian, a travel writer, a podcaster, and a question time appearancer. But in light of the recent controversy with the government's refugee plans, we are here to talk to him in his hat, I suppose you'd say, Dom, as Save the Children ambassador. Dominic, please tell us about your role there.
I don't. I don't massively like to talk about my charity stuff, but I got involved in Save the Children just because I grew up in Lebanon, and they asked me to do stuff about refugee problems in Syria, and I just felt that was an area that I actually knew something about.
Do you struggle with working out which children to save? I mean, some of these children presumably can save themselves. I mean, Greta Thunberg is doing all right, isn't she, for a child?
Yeah, I think it's slightly different for Greta Thunberg because she's obviously living in Scandinavia and she's in a slightly safer environment. I'm talking about children that are probably a lot younger than her and caught in sort of in hostile situations, wars, civil wars, etc. So I don't really think that's a brilliant analogy with the respect.
Right. No, I mean, it's a very serious issue. And I guess really what we want to touch on today is why don't you just stick to comedy?
That's a very good question. Some people would say I'd left comedy a long time ago. I don't know. I'm sort of, weirdly, I agree with you very slightly.
Yes, you do. Yes, I mean, often people do. I mean, what the thing is I don't understand.
I'm saying that was an exception, not that I often do agree with you. I don't normally agree with you, but on this case, I think actually, yes, sometimes celebrities can be a bit, look at me and my charity, but I just happen to think this was an area that I knew something about. Do you know about any areas at all? Any areas?
I know about all sorts of areas. I'm very well read in my job, and I find that yes, I find really what's good to try and do, Dominic, is to have lots of strong opinions on lots of topics, and then you don't really need to worry about things like experience, because I believe you sort of moonlighted as a diplomat, didn't you? See, I don't need to do that because I've got opinions on it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, that is your job. You're an opinionist. And
yes,
it's a way to make a living, I suppose. But I don't know. I agree with you. I didn't know much about areas. I've found personally that going to places and sort of finding out on the ground and talking to people involved in it, call me old fashioned, but I find I know more about a subject having done that than just reading the Daily Mail. But
can I just...
Oh, sorry. I think producer Martin's trying to get a word in.
Hello, Dom. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I just do need to check. I'm producer Martin.
This is producer Martin.
Just twiddling the knobs and pressing the buttons. I do just need to check. This isn't a prank, is it? Because we do know you have form. Me. I know, but this whole we were saving the children is not one of your pranks, is it? You're not going to turn around.
I see.
Yeah, because we do.
No,
we do.
No, it's not.
I mean, we know what you're like.
Because this is a serious program.
Yes. No, I can see it's a serious program. I understand that, and I totally that's a valid point. But I don't actually, to be fair, like the word prank. I prefer to use the word hidden camera. It's an art form rather than pranks is what idiots do. So I call it hidden camera.
Yes.
Or just, improv hidden camera.
Improv hidden camera.
Just because there is a difference between that. Otherwise, you're just Keith Lemon suddenly,
Yeah, no, of course.
And you are clearly not Keith Lemon. I mean, he does all sorts of voices. Your voices were quite limited, weren't they?
That's actually a very good point. Yeah. I have to agree with that.
Let's talk about your career. Are you sad that your Question Time appearance hasn't led to a career rebirth, like, say, Lawrence Fox?
Yes, I have to agree. Lawrence nailed it on that. He did.
Yes.
And there was a part of me before I went on. I've done Question Time twice, actually. And both times I came away feeling if only I'd been a lot more racist and outspoken, it might have opened new avenues for me. I'm just not very good career-wise on that. I don't.
I'm going to stop you there, Dom. Was he racist? No, he just sort of said that he pointed out that being a white straight male was not his fault, and he was getting persecuted for it, and he gained a lot of fans from that. He's now got a lot of Twitter followers, and that's where it counts.
All of them in
I'm
Kent.
afraid.
I have no idea why. There is a correlation between that sort of person in Kent. I've noticed.
Kent is a wonderful place. Kent is a wonderful place.
It's the Garden of England, but it's clearly growing some sort of racist carrot, as far as I can see.
I've got to say, I am getting just a little nervous about this talk of racism in Kent. I thought maybe if I could just...
I wasn't being racist, and Kent is not a race. So you can't be racist about Kent.
Well, no, you shouldn't be. You absolutely shouldn't be.
I think Kent have their own language now. Actually, Dominic, they've got their own language.
I mean, that I would defer to you. I've been to many places in Kent. I've never been able to understand a word they say, so it might be its own language. But yes, I'm slightly confused.
I've got a friend.
What's this all about? You called me and asked me to come on this to discuss my work for Save the Children.
Yes.
In the Middle East.
I think producer Martin has some Save the Children related questions.
Yes, this is a sort of a multiple choice. Which
is this your questions or from viewers? Do you have viewers?
This is from our listeners. Yes.
What you need to understand is we're a fairly new podcast. And so our listeners, sometimes they're imaginary, but they're still listeners.
So you're like Piers Morgan's new thing.
Thank you so much. That is what we inspire to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brendan, ask those questions then.
Yes. So, if you could save just one child from history, who would it be? And I've got some options here. Okay, would it be Oliver Twist? Do you think he deserves saving? Would it be the baby Jesus, or maybe Harry Potter?
Some difficult ones there.
Jesus, I don't think existed, and Harry Potter. I've never seen Harry Potter. In fact, on a personal note, I genuinely have a cease and desist letter from the actor that plays Harry Potter. So I was stalking him. So I'd probably not save him. I'd probably go with Oliver Twist because I think everyone in Kent needs to be saved.
Why were you stalking Harry Potter? You're supposed to be saving the children, not stalking them.
No, this was when he wasn't a child and I was doing something and I dressed as a chef and broke into a theatre where he was working to try and do something. I can't remember what it was, but he got quite angry. And I genuinely have a cease and desist letter from him. It's framed in my loo, but we're slightly going off the topic again.
Yes, sorry, get it talking about save the children. Very serious topic.
Well, it is a very serious topic, and I know that you have to get your ratings and stuff, but Save Children is an organisation that does some really incredibly valuable work for children all around the world and children that really haven't got anyone else looking out for them. And as an ambassador, because I'm an ambassador for them, not like an official diplomat and stuff, but they call me an ambassador. It's an incredible.
But Dom, I'm sure it's an honour. But the thing is, even if these children, are in trouble, if they come over here illegally, then we should. It's right, surely, that we put them in a plane to Rwanda.
Well, firstly, they're not coming here illegally. They're not coming here at all. The whole point of Save the Children is to look after kids in the environment they're in, and you'll be pleased to know, so that they don't have to come over here. And actually, Rwanda, ironically, is a place that people do go and work and help children in Rwanda. I don't think Rwanda's a massively brilliant place to send people.
No, Dom, I'm afraid you're wrong about that.
I'm not wrong about that.
Rwanda is. I haven't been to Rwanda, but I've heard Liz Truss speaking about it this morning, and it's a wonderful place, and everyone has nice accommodation.
That's not
and
true.
In fact, me and producer Martin were talking about this, and we were thinking actually Rwanda is quite woke.
In what possible ways Rwanda woke?
Well, for starters, they're coming over here and they're taking our refugees.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I mean, I heard Liz Truss as well on Rwanda, and I don't think she's been to Rwanda. I'd love her to go to Rwanda for an extended period of time, and I hope that someone could arrange that very, very soon.
Well, yes, I'm sure she would, because, as she's talked about, Rwanda is a wonderful, lovely place.
Maybe she can drive around Rwanda in a tank and take a picture of herself. That would be nice.
Do you know what? I think that's a lovely idea. Maybe that makes me think, Tom, now I don't want to give you any career advice, because obviously you've done a lot. But maybe to get people more interested in Save the Children, you could accompany any bits you do with it with maybe a picture, fun little picture, or a little prank again, a little prank show.
Right. Well, I do. Obviously, we do take publicity photos when we're out there, because you make a little film and stuff.
Yes, but I think you've got the children in that, haven't you? And I think really you just want one of just a view. I think when you're talking about an issue, really, you don't want to cloud it with the actual issue, do you? You want to sort of people to focus in, go, what am I looking at here? Oh, I'm looking at Dom Joly, smiling nicely at the camera. I don't really need to take this too seriously, and it's all in hand.
No, I don't think that's what it's about at all. To be honest.
You could also use
No, well,
little animals, little animals. Kittens and puppies, because they're children too, aren't they? There's children of a different kind.
Sorry, what are you talking about?
Well, just saving a kitten is. I think saving kittens is actually a very, very positive start. And if people,
Yeah, but it's called Save the Children, not Save the Kittens.
what about? I mean, do you remember in Afghanistan?
I'm confused where this has got. Yes, the gentleman that took all the dogs in Afghanistan.
of
He
course.
saved all the dogs. Yes.
Yes, but he was
Which
not
was-
working for Save the Children. He was working for Save the Dogs, I think.
Which is a similar sort of thing, isn't it?
Well, it is, except it's saving
It-
dogs rather than children, so it's not similar in that sense.
But dogs are rather sweet, aren't they? And lots of people got involved in that when Pen Farthing did that. I mean, Ricky Gervais sort of was like save the dogs, and it was really wonderful. So actually, could you say that that's more important than saving the children?
Do you think Ricky Gervais saved the dogs and told them how many awards and how much money he had at the same time?
Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful if he did? I mean,
I
why
don't think
not?
dogs would be
Why
interested.
not? I think you're wrong there. Dogs can be very intelligent animals.
I've got my dogs here.
I don't know
They
if you've ever
wouldn't be
tried.
interested at all. Let's ask. Come here.
Have you tried talking to your dogs?
Truman, come here. I'll speak to my dog right now. Truman, come here. Have you
Oh,
spoken to
this
Ricky
is-
Oh,
Gervais
there he is.
about awards? No, that's a no.
What's the
No.
name of your dog?
Truman.
Well, maybe sometime we should really, shouldn't we, producer Martin, do a whole feature where we talk to dogs about things like the Israel and Palestine crisis and things like that, because I think that would make a really sort of rather sweet, funny feature.
Dog's
wouldn't
eye
it?
view. I love
Probably
it.
get more sense than this, to be honest.
Well, I think we're making a lot of headway here. I think we've really sort of had a serious discussion about refugees, and people listening to this, our viewers, our listeners, they'll
Keep
be
your nails
feeling
on
really
the
sort of clear-eyed.
Yeah, I've had more precise questions in the one show, to be honest, but I mean, that's not hard.
Dominic, I must say, thank you so much for all of your time. We don't want to keep you too much longer. I know we're
No.
coming up to the end of our time here. I did just have a couple of extra questions. Just very quickly. Okay, you can only save one. Okay, it's Tiny Tim.
One.
It's very good.
It's either Tiny Tim on one hand, or it's Rosie and Jim.
Oh,
It's a 2-for-1.
what are you going to
Tiny
do?
Tim, of course, very unhealthy. Rosie and Jim, healthy, but ragdolls. They're both children.
Okay, just to be clear, that's not how Save the Children work. There's not like a lottery and stuff, but just for the sake of your format, I would save Tiny Tim.
Oh.
'Cause I don't like Rosie and Jim.
Interesting. But what's next for you?
I don't know, probably Dancing on Ice.
Wonderful. Well, I think this could really
That's
help.
the dream, anyway.
So, if the Dancing on Ice producers are listening,
They've already
Dominic Joly would love to
They've already
do
been in
it.
touch. They've already been in touch. I'm considering it. at the moment.
Well, what about the other one? Strictly. Strictly, if you're listening, he's ready, he's
I wouldn't be
funny, and he
No.
likes children.
Well, I don't like children, not in that sense. I don't like children. It's not. Just to clarify, I work for Save the Children. I have children, but I don't like children, if you see what I mean.
He doesn't
A lot
like
of them are very
children,
rude.
but he
Like
does.
I don't like children, if you see what I mean.
He
you know what I'm
doesn't
saying?
like children,
No, I
but he
mean in
does
the-
like to
in the-
dance.
I mean, like you, Tree. Can you not use this bit, please? Because I don't think it's going to come across very well.
It's okay because producer Martin is going to cut this bit
great.
into an
So cut
expert
that
way,
Because otherwise,
and what will make very clear is that you don't like children.
no, I do like children,
But
but I don't like children. I can't, because,
I'm sure we
this is
won't.
going to come across.
No, we never
I mean,
take
I
things
clip
out of
it, word for word.
context.
Please don't.
We are always very careful
Please.
not to paint people in a bad light and an
Please,
untrue
genuinely,
light.
'cause
So
I'm an
we'll make
ambassador.
sure that everyone is aware in what sort of way you like children,
Because just because I'm an ambassador.
which is not at all.
So, no, I do
Yes.
like them. And I don't know if I've mentioned it,
likes
but I'm an
them.
ambassador. I don't.
He likes the children.
Can we just leave
Very
this?
much.
Do something else?
Dominic Joly, children lover. Thank you.
No, you can't say that, please.
So that's it for this week. What a week it was. I hope you've had fun. We certainly have, haven't we, Martin?
Oh, yes, the most.
Thanks to Rosie Holt, Brendan Murphy, Eshaan Akbar, Nat Tapley, Eleanor Morton, Dom Joly, and Ed Morrish. Please join us next week for more Non-Censored. And Martin, do the...
Oh, yes,
now.
please do click on that like and that subscribe button. Okay.
And Martin,
yes, and the reviews. And if you could leave us a nice review, please, that would be much appreciated.
The Guardian said it was glorious,
it
didn't
certainly
it, Martin?
did.
We don't usually like The Guardian here. It's very wokey, awful, awful paper. But, you know, it's like they say, isn't it, Martin? A stopped clock is right twice a day. So there we go.
I mean, any kind words would be appreciated.